In this video, we describe integers and give the rules for multiplying and dividing integers. Integers are this set of values here. You can see that we've got negative integers, positive integers to the right of 0, and then 0 itself is neither negative nor positive. Other numbers such as fractions and decimals, like 2/3, 1.5, and so on, are not integers. Let's look at rules for multiplying integers and dividing integers. A positive integer times a positive integer is a positive integer. A positive integer multiplied by a negative integer will result in a negative integer, and vice versa. A negative integer times a positive integer will result in a negative integer. A negative integer times another negative integer will result in a positive integer. And looking at division, a positive divided by a positive will result in a positive. A positive integer divided by a negative integer will result in a negative integer, and vice versa. A negative divided by a negative will result in a positive. And you can notice here that when you're multiplying or dividing integers, if the integers have like signs, then the result will be positive. Whereas if the integers have unlike signs, the result will be negative. All right, now let's look at some notation. You may be familiar with the x between two numbers as a way to indicate multiplication, but there's other ways of indicating multiplication, like numbers inside of parentheses that are right next to each other. This also indicates multiplication, or when one of the numbers is in parenthesis and the other number is outside of parenthesis. Also, a number, two numbers with a dot in between them is indicative of multiplication. And similarly for dividing integers, sometimes we may see the division symbol, other times we may see a number above a bar, and then below the bar another number. Or in this third way here, which is, another representation of division. Okay, now let's look at some practice problems. Right, for number 1 here, we see that we've got a number right next to parentheses. So this indicates that we should multiply. And we have a positive 4. If there's no sign in front of a number, it's understood to be positive. So 4, a positive, times a negative 5. This will result in a negative, based on our rules above. Okay, for number 2, we've got two numbers inside of parentheses. Each has a parenthesis around it. This is also indicative of multiplication. A negative times a negative will result in a positive. In number 3 here, we got a negative times a positive. This will result in a negative based on our rules. All right, so for multiplication, I hope you see how we're doing these multiplication problems. And looking at number 4 here, we don't have we have a dot that tells us to multiply. And here we've got a negative times a positive, which results in a negative. For number 5, the division symbol is telling us to divide, and we're dividing a negative by a positive. So the result will be negative. And in number 6, negative divided by negative is positive. All right, moving down to number 7. This time we see 0 in the denominator. We immediately have a red flag that a 0 can never be in the denominator. So this right here leads to an undefined operation. But we can have a 0 in the numerator and a non-zero number in the denominator. So number 8 is permissible operation, but we can never have 0 in the denominator. But 0 in the numerator is okay. So anytime you have 0 in the numerator and any non-zero in the denominator, the result will be 0. Right, looking at number 9, positive divided by negative. Based on our rules for dividing integers, this will result in a negative. So negative 8. All right, continuing down. Looking at number 10, in this case, the negative is right in the middle. So this may be not clear where if this is negative in the numerator or negative in the denominator. But it really does not matter if you put that negative in the numerator or you can put the negative in the denominator. It's all right. In either case, the result here, negative divided by positive, is negative. And we'll have, this will be negative 15. But what is not allowable, and is a common mistake that people make, is to put the negative both on the numerator and in the denominator. And this is not allowable. So negative in the middle there, that negative can go in the numerator or it can go in the denominator, but definitely not both. All right, moving on to number 11. This time we got a product of integers. And I would suggest in this case just to take your time and do work from left to right and do work 2 integers at a time. So if I want to find the value of this or simplify this, I would multiply the first 2 integers. Negative 3 times negative 2, this will result in a positive. And then rewrite the other factors. Right, just taking your time. And then work again, these next 2. A negative times a positive will give us a negative. And then rewrite the other factor. And then finally, negative times negative is positive. All right, and then let's look at number 12. We're going to do it the same way. Negative and negative is plus. Rewrite the other factors. See, by rewriting and just being patient, we're less likely to make a mistake. 1 times negative 4 will give us a negative 4. Rewrite. Final answer is negative 20. All right. And maybe you noticed that in number 11 and in number 12, there was a certain pattern. And that is when you multiply an even number of negatives, the result will be positive. So for example, in number 11, we have 4 negative values there. So 4 being an even number, the result was positive. And in 12, we have 3 negatives. So 3 being an odd number, the result is negative. All right, if you found this video helpful, like and subscribe. Also, check out our website below. Math is order. It's not just about numbers and symbols.